The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Jazzabrations and Beyond on this Sunday afternoon, the first Sunday of the year. I'm your host, Linda Morgan, and I'm riding with my co-host,
Torre, Brannon, Reese.
Yes, welcome again to Jazzabrations and Beyond. We are so excited. We got so much to talk about. I know there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the news right now, and we are going to get to it and get through it.
I like the way you put that.
Yes. Well, first of all, because as of Tuesday, we have something to do in school.
Yeah, we have something.
So let's just put that up at the top of the hour, because January.
Everybody's saying Happy New Year. I put out this thing called Happy New Life.
That's true. Happy New Life.
Happy New Life.
That's a good thing. Happy New Life to you as well. To all of you out there. Thank you for joining us. As always, if you want to call in and talk to us, our number is 323-293-3375, and we will get right to your call. Even if we are in mid-sentence, we will stop and take your call. But thank you. Mm-hmm. So January, first of all, is National Mentoring Month.
Really?
Yes, it is. And so I bought this book here. You can't really see it. It's the Pearls, The Magic of Mentoring, Pearls of Wisdom. I am one of 47 authors in this book. And we're going to be doing a book signing
beautiful.
And later on this month, and I'll give you the details on that. So if you follow me, look at my Facebook page for that. But my big sister, Barbara Perkins, created this book 2 years ago. And now she has a second edition coming out with Jesse Jackson Jr. and Kathy Hughes endorsing it. So look out for that. January is National Mentoring Month. Okay. And because it's so important, we are doing, this is mentor extraordinaire here. He's been mentoring young boys in Locke High School for how many years now?
Well, I've been at Locke for 5 years now, but I've been mentoring for about 25 years.
Been a mentor for 25 years. And he has a program at Locke for young men called
Princess,
for young men.
I'm so thinking about the female piece.
Yes. See a man, be a man.
Right.
Sam Bam. Look it up. Google it, y'all. So he has been mentoring young men now for the last 5 years at Locke. And so, interestingly, what happened is the young ladies there, I guess this whole Me Too movement, all that,
they stepped to
brought
us,
their rises up. And they said, what about us? What about us? And so, being the mentor that you are.
And we had the program already ready on paper called Princess to Queen. Princess, the number 2, Queen.
Correct.
And we have to get a website and all that now because those young ladies are on us. So we're ready to start next week.
When school goes back in January, it's on Tuesdays.
Tuesday
and
the 8th.
The 8th.
Right.
I'm one of the new little mentors who are I'm so excited to be able to pour my life into these young women. I can't even wait to meet them. We want to be able to bring them on the show and introduce them as well and bring them on and let you see the progression as we start this program from now to the end of the year. These young ladies are seniors and juniors. Some freshmen, sophomores. We got all groups, all ages. Right. So we're going to track their experiences. We're going to track them. We're going to follow them and see how much we can help them progress from a princess to a queen. That's P2Q.
Right.
Look out for that, y'all. All of you. P2Q. Go to Family Soul, FAMLI.soul.org.
Right.
And all the information will be on there. That's my partner's nonprofit.
And we have sambam.us. They can go there also.
Sambam.us. See a man, be a man.us for the men's portion of the program. So we got lots of things going on. We're both two very busy individuals doing a lot of good things in the community. We'd love for you to share this out. If you're watching us live on Facebook, don't wait till the end. Go ahead and just share this out so that it goes out to all of your friends while we're on the air. And you can always feel free to call us, like I said, at 323-293-3375, and we will take your call.
So I have a special affinity for women, right? My mom raised me and my brothers, 3 brothers, so that's 4 boys. And I bear witness to her struggle, to her challenges, to her beauty and her power. And she would be a central figure in where the concept came to me for Princess to Queen. You see in the lives of a lot of women, particularly African-American women, how they transition from one stage of life to another based upon circumstances and their environment. And those who make it through, they're full of
I'm one. I'll tell y'all that story in a minute.
They're full of character, strength, unbelievable strength and vision and all that kind of thing. For instance, my mom, when she was a very young woman, owned her own businesses, her own restaurants and stuff like that, and raising us at the same time and making sure that we were, so it was like all the stuff that she did and balanced in the midst of, a cultural environment and a political environment that wasn't necessarily set up for her to succeed. And, how do you navigate that life?
All of that.
I think in some ways it's even more difficult now because there's a lot of pressure, particularly from this social media culture.
Social media has been a bugger for these young kids.
Right.
A guy did a post on that. Glad there was no social media when we was back in our days because we were so stupid. Nobody had a videotape of it.
Right.
Yay!
Exactly, and that's sometimes that's the only reason a lot of us weren't in trouble because there was no cameras around.
Correct. No internet to expose you and tell about you and all that. So I know we're going to hit that story.
Right.
Let me take something to drink here because this one is about to.
Well, I can introduce it.
Work my nerves. Go right ahead.
No, I don't think. I think it'll be right in line with what we're talking about. Because,
absolutely.
When we're talking about the R. Kelly phenomenon that's going on now, there's this documentary, I guess they call it.
And I haven't seen it yet either. So
well, you can you can go to YouTube and see it.
I know it. It's live. I can get all the feeds from Facebook, but go right ahead.
Well, it's sad because it talks about a person who's a trusted public figure, aside from being an artist. For some reason, when you become famous, a lot of people trust you, and if you violate that trust, a lot of people can be hurt. And to put it plainly, obviously this man has abused a lot of women over the years, girls,
young girls
who were vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable. And they're telling their stories, and I think they have a right to tell their stories. And I think we have to listen instead of trying to judge all the time. Of course, we see a lot of stuff on social media now where there are people judging the young lady.
Both sides, right.
Yeah, and there's always going to be both sides to an issue. But the bottom line is that if you do wrong, you're wrong. No matter who you are, no matter how much money you have, what color you are, what your religion is, if you're wrong, you're wrong.
Wrong is wrong. I agree.
And when you do wrong, then you need to suffer the consequences of your actions. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, people are saying some horror stuff. He needs to be, A needs to be kicked. He needs to be put in prison, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's all over the place.
Well, we were talking earlier, and a gentleman, Joe, who's here now, mentioned the name Bill Cosby, and whoever thought that this man who was America's dad, a trusted, valued figure in American culture, would be sitting in a prison cell in his 80s.
Right.
That was like going to the moon and living on the moon or something, right? It just wasn't going to happen. But the reality is that he's in prison right now, for things that he's done,
Right.
And we can make all kinds of excuses and talk about how maybe it was because he was black and this, but the bottom line is that he did something wrong.
Wrong is wrong. Wrong is wrong. That's the bottom line, like you said.
Right.
And you can't wash over. And I think this is probably going to change a lot of lawsuits. A lot of court decisions going to be overturned. A lot of things over this, what do you call it, statutory of time.
Right.
Incest, rape, all that shouldn't have no statutory time. If somebody couldn't tell it, this is how I feel. If they couldn't tell it at the time that it happened, and they were able to get some mental help to bring them to the point where they could talk about it, even if it was 20, 30 years later, then it happened. It still happened. So don't squash what happened to them based on the fact that, they done ran out of time to tell the story. And that's what's happening right now.
This happens to women all the time. For some reason, I'm always researching and stuff. For some reason, I ran across this documentary on the life of Sally Hemings, who was the property of the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. And the conversation was going back and forth about whether or not she was complicit in the way she was treated, whether or not it was a consensual relationship, or did she love him, right? Well, essentially, she had no choice. We really don't know, but my spiritual guess is that she had no choice. She was powerless. He had all the power, the prestige, the money, and whatever he said goes.
Right.
If you say no, then you have to suffer the consequences of saying no. So African American women down through history have had to suffer because of their space in society, their place in society, and the power that men wield, And now when you talk about R. Kelly, you're talking about an African American man who has money and power to protect himself when he's in trouble. But what happens to the victims?
Right.
Why are we still judging them?
Right.
So we're going to have to deal with these issues. And as we talk about Princess to Queen, we're talking about a generation of young ladies all around this country who've been marginalized, mistreated, misrepresented, et cetera. We can go on and on and on.
Right.
About how they're being treated and how they're being represented in the media.
Correct.
And what do we do about it,
And how do we help them to direct their lives different from what they're around, even around their families and friends? Because as a young black woman who grew up in Watts, y'all didn't know that one. I grew up in Watts, California. Let me just tell you, everything is not as rosy as people paint pictures. So growing up in Watts, my mom moved around all the time. Move around all the time. I was to the point of when I was 16, 17 years old, taking care of myself. And what that meant is a reliance. If you ain't got a job or your mama's not taking care of you, had a reliance on men. Right. And so some of these young victims of R. Kelly had a reliance on him for financial gain or financial means or whatever.
Well, here's this man stepping to you and saying, I can help make your dreams come true.
Exactly.
You have a talent. I can take you into the studio or take you into this space.
That's why I'm so glad I never wanted to be a dancer or a singer. So that didn't never happen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that a couple of these young ladies had fathers in their lives. Right. I'm a father of 4 girls.
Right.
So when young men would come and encounter my daughters, they didn't know because, 9 times out of 10, there's no man at home. They didn't know that there was a father standing behind these young ladies. So they had to deal with me.
Right.
Right. I have rules and regulations. I can look at you. I can talk to you. There's a presence there now. So now you have to act different. Mm-hmm. Well, with R. Kelly, and he's only an example of many men around. We know what's happening with Harvey Weinstein and many others who've been accused.
A bunch of them getting ready.
Yeah, a bunch of them. Right. So he's not by himself. You get away with this stuff because of who you are and where you are in society in terms of your money and your prestige and all that kind of stuff. But there has to come a day, there will come a day, there has come a day where it has to stop.
Right. And just be no is no, that's it. And everybody stand on the side of what's right.
Right.
How can we be straddling the fence on something as poignant as this? Violation of a young woman's womanhood. Well, you took that at a young age, and I have not seen the documentary, but if we're just talking about him influencing young girls in ways of promising them futures in terms of their music careers or whatever, they were vulnerable.
Well, it's about R. Kelly, but it's not. You just had Brett Kavanaugh confirmed as a Supreme Court justice.
Who did what he did, yep.
Who did what he did, and he's on the highest court in the land. But you also, I don't want to get too political, but you have a president who's been accused by over 19 women of sexual assault, and we've heard his voice speak to that issue, of assaulting women, right? And he's the president of the United States. So we live in a nation that has some serious issues and serious contradictions. But America's always been a land of contradiction,
Correct.
And for us to act like it's not true is foolish and it's fantasy. We have to deal with reality. And what happens to the women who are suffering and are in pain for the rest of their lives because of some treatment or mistreatment from men? We have to get to the crux of the issue and deal with that. And there's a whole lot of work to be done. So Princess the Queen comes along at a critical time in American culture. And if we can do if we can be an example of the right thing to do and the right approach.
Oh, we're going to be an example.
Yeah,
These young ladies going to come out on the top.
Right.
So with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be back because this is Hot Topics for today. You're watching Linda Morgan on Jazzabrations and Beyond with my co-host, Torre, Brannon Reese. We'll see you right back.
Peace.
In a sentimental mood, I can see the stars come through my room, while your loving attitude lights up a flame that lights the gloom. On the wings of every kiss drifts a melody so soft and sweet. In this sentimental bliss, you make my paradise so complete. Rose petals seem to fall, it's all like a dream to call you mine. Ooh, my heart's a lighter thing since you made this night a thing divine. In a sentimental mood, I'm within a world so heavenly, and I never dreamt that you'd be loving sentimental me.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. I'm so excited. As you can tell, I got a studio guest. Yes! But we have a caller, so that's why we came back so abruptly. Who's on the line? Thank you for calling us.
It's me.
Who is me?
Joyce Lynn, I have a cold.
Oh, my boo didn't come to church today. She got a cold. Joyce Lynn.
Jocelyn, get well, sweetheart.
Oh, my goodness. I'm telling you, I'm under the weather.
Oh,
yeah.
I tell you, girl, all you need is some Grand Marnier and some lemon. That's what you need.
Oh, yeah, right. I was really sick.
Well,
You know, I was sick too. So
I know.
if it works for me, it'll work for you.
You were.
I was tore up.
What did you do?
Grand Marnier and lemon. Grand Marnier and lemon.
Now, for the layperson, what's Grand Marnier?
medicine I gave you?
Liqueur.
Oh, okay.
It's
You didn't
like a
take
brandy.
You didn't take any of that medicine I gave you?
Confession? No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I don't take medicine, but I just didn't want to hurt your feelings. But I'm telling you live now.
I mean, I had to go out and buy some stuff because I had nothing in my house.
Okay, well, I'll get it back to you. Come and get it.
No.
Do you have a question, sweetheart?
Yeah, I got to get off the phone.
She just wanted to call in to say hi. Thank you.
wanted to
Happy
let you know.
New Year, boo. Miss you at church today. Love you.
Okay.
And we'll talk later. Thank you for calling in.
Bye.
So, what we were talking about, I think, was protecting young girls.
Yes.
How do we put our arms around them and let them know? Any human being that is going to be well wants to know that somebody cares about them.
Yes.
And that's what I know we're going to do.
Yes.
I know we're going to do that.
I'm so excited because I just want to see my little influence in somebody other than me. How about that? Mm-hmm. So we have a program just called Princess to Queens. He has a program at Lock for Boys that he has been doing for the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. And the young lady said, well, what about us? Mm-hmm. And so he already had the curriculum for it, and he's launching it Tuesday when they go back to school. Mm-hmm. And so I'm one of the mentees. I cannot wait to pour into them. Mm-hmm. January is National Mentoring Month. This is a book that I'm in. I'm going to see how I can get one of these books for all of them. But
Tell them about your cold remedy, though.
Yes.
Oh, no.
That's my in-studio guest now, talking about my cold remedy. Now, we won't tell them about that. No, but what I shared earlier, most people don't know, I was born in Watts, born and raised in Watts. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Mm-hmm. And it's just being, my whole life was, I'm the baby of 8. Mm-hmm. So therefore, they all left the coop real early. They was gone before I could even think about it. My sisters, all of them was gone. So, my mom just raised me and my other 2, my brother and sister. Mm-hmm. I done got some roots everywhere in L.A., on the east side, on the west side. Mm-hmm. I got a house address that I can relate to. Mm-hmm. And so just growing up, I was just saying, reliance on men became kind of like a thing. You had to, if you wanted to eat, you wanted to do things, a friend or somebody had to be that type of person. So we was talking about the whole R. Kelly thing. But to be able to shape the lives of these young women and give them something different, that they don't have to rely on a man. And that's the thing. If they had that kind of direction when they're younger, by the time they get my age, they will never have to look back.
Well, one of the things about our programming and our approach is it's a reality-based, not nothing like reality TV, reality-based, spirit-based, soul-based program where it's about dealing with the realities of life.
And we got the 9 principles
the 9 principles: spirituality, culture, career, education, economics, health, politics, family. And then in the middle of the curriculum is personal responsibility.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, it's about what you decide to do with your life. Your background, your past, your history.
Exactly.
It matters, but you don't have to be stuck there. Yeah. It's about where you're going.
Correct.
And how you're going to get there. And we're there to help guide, not to save them. They save themselves if they need saving. And that's something that's a concept that, young people need to understand, that you're responsible for your life. When you walk out that door in the morning time, going to school or wherever you're going, church, wherever you're going, you have decisions that you're going to make, And we hope that we can pour enough into these young ladies, that they'll make the right decision at the critical moment in their lives.
Correct.
All of us have had those moments in our lives when we had to make a decision that could have altered our lives.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's one of the things I tell Aaron all the time, my 17-year-old, who is just the bud of my life. Yes, Mr. Morgan, I'm talking about you again, long live. Because he is, this boy he's spoiled, but he's good. He's special, but he's okay. He's now eating freshly meals delivered to him. And so as we was leaving to come to church today, here comes the deliverer with his freshly meals. He gets his food delivered. I've not even thought about that going on, but
it's a different time.
Right. So speaking of him, he made the honor roll this past semester before school. Had never thought about making an honor roll. I just challenged him and said, I'll give you $50 for every A. Did I tell you about this?
I don't know.
$50 for every A. Do you know that?
You did tell me about that.
He showed up here with 5 A's on this quarter. So he got 3 more classes left to get all A's. Yeah. So I have to fork out $250. I told his daddy, I said, hey, I need half of this. Right. Because this is what's going on here.
But that's called an incentive.
I incentivized him to do better.
No, with the Princess and Queen program, with See a Man, Be a Man, at the end of the year, if they do the minimum of what we asked of them, which is to come to class, participate, have a good attitude, and try, right? If you do those things, you're going to get a new suit at the end of the year, and you're going to get treated to a dinner at a 5-star restaurant.
Right, and that's what
so now with Princess
his program
and Queen,
does.
We have to figure out, and I have to ask you and the other women, do we do the dinner and a dress?
Well, they would be happy for a dress for their prom. So I got that all locked on lock. I got my girl. She's now selling dresses. She got bling bling, $5 bling.
So
we do.
They might want to get their hair done, and
we gonna work it out. We gonna yes.
I still don't understand the nails and the I don't.
That's a girl thing. But we're going to ask them to tell us what's important. Is it after they get ready to graduate, or is it that prom? Because going to that prom is not no small potatoes. You got hair, nails, outfit, limo, everything.
Yeah. But how about this? There have been, social media again, right? Have you ever seen these posts where people say, is this teacher supposed to wear this kind of outfit in class? Is this woman supposed to wear this type of dress at church? I mean, these are grown-ups who people are putting on social media and saying,
putting them on blast.
This is inappropriate. What do you think about it? If the woman is too sexy and she's in front of, third graders with all of the curves, going everywhere. But where did she learn that from? First of all, is it wrong? Secondly, if it is wrong, where is it? What does it say about her values? Right? If you're
well, just because I'm curvy now. Wait. Just because I'm shapely.
I'm just asking the question.
Appropriate wardrobe is what you're saying.
Okay, studio audience input coming up here right now. Studio audience.
That's all right. She said.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Yeah, we having double chats here with our studio audience. So,
but that's a good question she's raising. I mean, if you're an educator, right? You're an educator.
Which they're getting ready to go on strike. Don't even talk about that January the 10th.
And let's say
what you gonna be doing?
January
you in LAUSD?
No, I'm with a charter.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little different.
But yeah, they're going on strike July the 10th.
Right.
I mean January the 10th. Coming back in. Teachers going on strike.
But I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is if young people's, and I don't want to mention names, but they're superstar athletes, they're superstar entertainers who influence young people's behavior, how they dress, how they talk, how they walk, what they eat, etc.
Right.
I mean, it's a real
and with
phenomenon.
this social media, it has changed a whole lot of perspectives and what they see and how much they see and what they get to put in. And see, I guess that's my whole thing. I have not watched this documentary, not because I choose not to. I choose not to. So it ain't coming and seeping into my brain what's going on with R. Kelly. I just haven't watched it. I don't care to ingest that kind of information. Not that I don't care. Let's just say that. It's not that I don't care. But spiritually, for me, I don't take in a lot of TV for that very reason. This one takes in a lot of TV. I didn't even watch TV, period. Because what you ingest in your system and in your soul starts to permeate out of your mouth.
Well, my perspective is that as an educator, I absorb a lot.
You're a teacher.
And I don't, it's almost like being a doctor. You can't allow it to permeate your spirit. But I have to have the information. I have to know what songs they're listening to, what TV shows they're looking at, what movies they want to watch. I have to understand their culture. Because if I don't, and I just go in there thinking that I know what I know and you need to know what I know, then they're not going to listen to me.
Right.
I need to be able to relate to them and speak their language.
I'm aware culturally of what's going on out here because I got the 17-year-old and the 28-year-old and the social media.
Right.
But I just don't inject a lot of things into me, into my spirit personally.
No, I respect that. I'm just saying that,
we got to be aware to be able to even inform.
Yeah, we have to be able to listen to them. You know? And I've seen educators in the classroom with young people talking above their heads. And what happens is they tune out. And now the very few people you're trying to help, you can't help because, they feel like you think you know everything. And if you know everything, then,
Back to
there's
Mr.
no reason
Aaron
for me
Morgan.
to use my brain, right?
Back to Aaron Morgan.
Right.
He got away with talking to his teachers to let them know, you're not talking over my head. You're talking over my peers' head. So here's how you need to tell us what you want us to know.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting in the class and I'm like, boy, you better calm down. But it was so respectful that he had to help the teacher to see they're not getting it. My friends are looking at you with these glazed eyes because they don't even understand what you're telling them, and you want them to do this work, but you need to tell us like this, or you need to tell us this, or this is how we are interpreting what you're saying. This boy has gotten a lot of accolades from teachers in terms of his knowledge base and his articulation. So big ups to you, Aaron. You keep it up, and you're going to go great places.
Well, we're proud of our children. My daughter Felicia last week, she got a new job working at Whole Foods. And apparently there's this customer that comes in that drives everybody nuts. And so they tricked her. And like, okay, we want you to deal with her, right? And so she goes around the store with this lady and helps her out and, deals with her personality and her behavior and all that. And then when the lady leaves, they come to her and they're like, to my daughter, and they're like, okay, here's a $100 gift certificate. You're the first person this lady didn't complain about.
Wow.
I teach my daughters to understand how to interact
with people. That's right.
And don't take things personally all the time because people who they are. They have their behavior, their personalities, and you have to always stand in your power, and your strength, and don't let somebody throw you off because of their thing. Right?
Exactly. And
so, in doing the See a Man, Be a Man program over the years, we've had to impress upon young men that the first thing you have to understand is who you are and what you bring to the table.
That's right.
If you have a strong foundation, a cultural foundation, a spiritual foundation, an emotional foundation, you can deal with, all kinds of situations in life, but if you're always unsure about, things and who you are and how to behave, you're going to be all over the place.
You said a mouthful there. We're at the halfway point, and I think I want to do something different. Do you think I could have my in-studio guests? We're going to come right back. We're going to have a little chit-chat. We'll be right back. This set may be changing real soon. We'll be right back on Jazzabrations and Beyond. I'm your host, Linda Morgan, and our co-host here, Torre, Brannon, Reese. Right, see you in a minute. Well, welcome back to Jazzabrations and Beyond here on this Sunday, first Sunday of the year. I'm your host, Linda Morgan, and I got my co-host, as always, Torre Brannon Reese. But we just added some spice in the middle of us. With my girlfriend, Miss Dobby Davenport from Davenport Live.
She can't get it right yet. Dobby Davenport Live.
Yes, Dobby Davenport Live.
Close
she was
enough,
our in-studio... Excuse me. She was our in-studio guest, so I just decided to impromptu invite her on.
I think you did that because I kept on doing so much input. And she was like, if she's going to do all this, then we need to get her on. I actually love the topic that I was kind of in the background yelling out because I love the topic of what you're doing. I'm also a youth advocate, which you know that I've got programs going on around Crenshaw High, Hollywood High, Fairfax High School, and Bancroft Performing Arts School. Beautiful. And, I think it's really important, the topic that you hit that really when you talked about did you see what I put on my Facebook about when did it become okay for us to, like, when I grew up, yeah, people have curves. The curves you have, right? But the women and that were just showing everything, and they just like you're in class and you got the boobs out, and it's like when have we gone too far with all that? And in church today, my pastor said, about the young girls and Instagram. When did it become okay for a 13-year-old to think that you could pose with a swimming suit on? Or, I mean, if I don't have a daughter, but if I did, there's be no way that would be 13. Acceptable. Mm-mm. Not any of that. I mean, it's like 16, 17. You don't need to do that. There's plenty of time. My mother told me once, she said, you're going to be grown. Once you get grown, you don't have to worry about it. And, you're going to be grown forever. So I love the topic that you guys have. And first of all, congratulations on the show, Linda. I was here the first day that you started.
Yes.
And I love what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. You're an amazing woman. For anyone that's out there, this is my show for any of you don't know Linda. This is not my show. This is Linda's show. They all know Linda, Dobby. I was like, any of you out there that don't know Linda, it's her show, sweetie. You're sitting in for everyone. But, you're just doing incredible things, and how you're honoring the legends and everything. It is amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing, and you've been consistent with it. A lot of times people start up different things, and then they stop and they start back. But you've been...
We're celebrating our 10th year next in March. Will be our 10th year of Jazz Legends honorings.
Wow.
So we'll talk about all that on another show.
She got a great voice because she's not even talking in the mic.
Wow.
That's right. Yes. But I just wanted to, bring you on here because we're talking about this whole R. Kelly thing. Have you seen it, the documentary?
I haven't seen it yet, but unlike yourself, I am interested in seeing it. I'm from Chicago. I remember when R. Kelly was singing on the train platforms and all of that. And I remembered when at one time, because I've been hosting and doing things like that my entire life, and I remember when I thought he was a pretty cool guy. So I remember to see this happening, I personally believe that so many times with the celebrities that they cross the line way early and people see it and they don't acknowledge it. He crossed the line a long time ago. Mm-hmm. He did it a long time ago when they had the 13-year-old, when he took videos of himself. The line was crossed then. I personally, and I don't want anybody to be disappointed with me, which it's okay, it's my true opinion. If in fact this is what he's doing, I think he needs to be incarcerated. And it is what it, if he's not doing that, then I stand behind it. But it seems that it's uncomfortable, to think about someone taking advantage of young ladies like that.
Well, I have a 15-year-old granddaughter. Oh. And when I look at her, I see him marrying a 15-year-old Aaliyah.
Yes.
And what they showed in the documentary was where he had one of his people alter the documents to get married and turn her age to 18. And she was 15 years old.
Where were her parents at that time, though?
Well,
that's the thing also. They wanted her to be a star so much that, and this isn't to knock. I love Aaliyah and, God rest her soul. But it's like, where were her parents? Mm-hmm. Because my 15-year-old daughter couldn't have married anybody, R. Kelly or anyone else, for a celebrity status, a proclaimed celebrity status.
Yeah. That's a good question. They didn't deal with that. They didn't say anything about the parents. Yeah. I would like to know.
And again, respecting her completely. Mm-hmm. I love her, and everything but yeah.
Well, no, but it was just wrong. You're 27 years old. But what they showed, and one of my favorite writers was on there. And he talked about how Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin, and Elvis Presley married a 14-year-old, or took in a 14-year-old girl who became his wife. Mm. And how there's a tradition in rock and roll.
Look at Woody Allen.
Well, there's a bunch of them, and there's certain countries that this sort of behavior is standard, and it's like part of their culture. I still don't think that's okay, but it's part of their culture. They actually pick and choose the young ladies from the families, and some of the families actually sell their. It's for status in a lot of the countries as well. Mm-hmm. Does it make it any better? No, but just thinking about, you spoke about social media having such an influence, and these young ladies and their families, they want to be celebrities. It's
at all costs.
They weren't taught that they were born stars. That's what's great about, with me as a girl. We didn't have a lot of money, but my family made sure that they let me know, Davi, you were born a star. And by that, I just mean, first of all, child of God, number one, but born to, I don't need any validation from anyone. No one, I don't need validation from a man. I don't need validation from an organization. I don't need validation from anyone, other than God. And he validated me when he allowed me to be born.
Well, you were blessed with good parents and some good values. But there's a generation of young people out here right now who are not getting that kind of teaching.
Well, my father was an alcoholic my entire life, so he's in recovery now. He's been a recovering alcoholic. He's sober for 26 years. I'm so proud of him. But, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect life. If anything, my mother was 19 years old when she gave birth to me, so it was a lot going on. But again, I'm older, so certain things, the woman on the next door to me saw me ride my bike off the block, and she called my grandmother and said, she's off the block, and my grandmother took a switch and whipped me all the way up the block. We don't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. We don't have that anymore. It was, it takes a village was a true statement when I was coming up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and sharing my own life story, one of the most positively influential people in my life was a pimp who was doing what he was doing, but who was teaching me not to do what he was doing. Amen. And teaching me that I was about more than that. Yes. And I could do better with my life than he was doing with his life. So even though he had, invested in a profession that was about something, that I shouldn't be doing, he taught me to do the right thing.
Isn't that beautiful?
So, you have these encounters in life and these people who can influence your life. Sure. Now, if he would have told me something different, I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now.
Yeah, you sure wouldn't.
I wouldn't be sitting here with you
get your
right
pimping self out of here. No. Speaking of pimps, I interviewed Don Juan the other day, another Chicagoan.
Bishop Don Magic Juan.
Yeah, he has a book that's called From the Pimp Stick to the Pulpit, The Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
And and his son was one of my real estate clients in Chicago. And I asked him, I asked him on camera, and I said, how did you feel like? And he looked, first he did like this, he did what you did. I said, Don, seriously? First of all, I asked him, was he still pimping? He looked at me and said, what? He wasn't expecting it. He said, I'm not. And then I also said, how did it feel like, you sit up and you tell me you love women so much and you respect women, I'm giving me respect, I'm demanding it. But how did you feel that you respect women so much and you had them on the street and knowing that? And he said, I was a different person then, and it was what I knew. Mm-hmm. And I do know that people can change. Again, I know there's a lot of things I've changed from.
Yes.
I see my father's,
Thank you, God. Grace for changing.
Yes, girl, you're changing right there before my very eyes.
Yes, I am. I've made some changes for 2019 that we don't have to talk about here on the air, but yes.
And congratulations on having your wonderful guy here. I see that you guys are consistent with your relationship. It's very important that we're also advocates for things like that. People don't see enough of that kind of that consistency and that love. We show all the negatives when they fight and all that reality TV, when people curse each other out. But what about if we start showing positive images of people again, positive relationships? When you spoke about your son, what if we start to, I believe if we illuminate, not to take over the show or anything, but I believe if we illuminate the positivity, that would be.
Accentuate the positive.
Light always casts out dark, and we know that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And so you guys, you could catch Davi on her show on Thursdays. When is it?
Sure, but you can go to DaviDavenportLive.com. We're actually starting up a brand new season. Super excited to have a great crew that's working with me. If you have a wonderful story that you think needs to be told. Also, if you're a great cook out there, I'm doing a brand new segment within the show that I'm looking for just the everyday cook too. I'm not looking for all the everyday cook. I'm coming to your house. Let me know what's up. Let's have some fun. Go to DaviDavenportLive.com. Just send me your information. You can see some of the shows that we've done already, and we have a brand new studio that we're going to be filming in now, so I'm super excited.
And is it going to be on Thursday still?
We're working all that out right now, so we're going to do it.
Just go to DaviDavenport.com.
Sure. I think we're going to be live on Wednesdays, and we'll be doing pre-recorded on Thursdays because we're going to be doing an actual transition over to KTLA for the summer. So yeah.
See, I got big time friends, y'all, already interviewing me. She inspired me to do this. I just was one day said, can I do like Davi? Can I get on that?
And look what you've done with it. Wow.
1 year. It'll be 2 years in August. Thank God. Wow. Knock on wood, we make it. And I have another great friend in the audience that's here with us, Mr. Joe Levine.
Hey.
And he is my brand manager today. He's looking at the set to see about getting us a set change, something so we can be enveloped and all that kind of stuff.
Have your backdrop, that'd be great if you had that in the back.
So look out. Jazzabrations and Beyond is going to come to you guys in the new year. We are excited.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What exactly, if you had to share with your audience right now, two things, what was your motivation? I know fun about you want to do dive, but sincerely, what was your motivation for starting the show? So your guests know. And then also one more. And then Because I see that, you're not only doing music and all, you're doing positive, inspirational things. You have an amazing co-host here that, thank God, he didn't turn into a pimp. So he's here with you. So he could have been a pimp, but hey, he's here doing
it. It could have happened.
It still could happen.
No.
Okay.
There's no chance.
I was like, I was thinking about the youth program. But what is it that you want? Because we see the need for some positivity. Where do you see your radio and television show going for 2019 and then beyond? But let's just go for what is it that you want for your show?
Well, so happy that you asked me that, Dobby. Let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding.
That's okay, girl. Give it to me, girl.
No, when I started doing the show, it was around having a platform to be able to interview the 149 jazz and blues legends that I've honored over these past 9 years.
Okay.
A place for them to come and so I can personally interview them and have this for legacy preservation purposes. Mm-hmm. And then as I started thinking about it, that's just one aspect of me. I got a 17-year-old. I do mom's mentoring. I do, national mentoring with my women's organization. So that's when I changed the name from just Jazzabrations Live to Jazzabrations and Beyond. Oh. Because as my co-host, my co-host is beyond just Jazzabrations.
Sure.
And so the two of us doing mentoring and just taking the show to another fun level.
So you were interested in your show being a positive platform for people beyond just the jazz.
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing. That's awesome. There's such a need for that. Yeah. And I like the fact that you have a guy up here with you now to give some diversity to it. So that's nice.
But jazz is not just about music.
Yeah.
It's really about life.
Relationships.
Yeah. And when you study it, in fact, we're going to talk about a tour I'm developing for people to go to New Orleans. Which is, the birthplace of the music, and how the music came to be in the first place. And I tell, I'm an artist also, a musician, and so
Street Corner Renaissance. Oh, we didn't tell you that part. I got me a famous host.
You do? Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
But it's important for me as a musician, and I think every jazz musician, anyone who calls himself a jazz musician, should visit. They should go to Congo Square. Mm-hmm. They should go to the home of Louis Armstrong.
Sure, I love New Orleans.
And all of these great artists who came out of there, because that was the beginning of it. And why did it develop there? What was happening there? Mm-hmm. And what influenced them to create this art form that the world enjoys now?
Sure. And Joe loves that's how my connection to Joe is. Mm-hmm. Joe loves jazz.
Joe loves jazz. Joe loves jazz. JLJ.
That's my show.
That's your show. Joe loves jazz. That's a hot name of a show.
Absolutely.
Joe loves. I like that.
And it just was birthed here. Felicia, where are you going? Okay.
I actually like that name. Joe loves jazz.
Pull out the context.
And so Stan Kajanzian, who is my artist that has his art up at the City Club, invited Joe to his reception, his art reception. Okay. And we met, we hit it off. Me and Joe have been to lunch. We got some plans, big plans in the work for some great things. And so that's why I invited you, because I wanted you to meet Joe as well and meet my co-host, because we'll all be involved in the plans for 2019.
Sure. That's amazing.
So it's all about family. It's all about surrounding ourselves with great people. It's about collaborations and connections. Yeah, follow that page on Facebook. Yes. Collaborations and Connections, because that's one of my Facebook pages that we're going to be doing a lot of things.
And connections.
We got it going on.
Yes.
You know what's really crazy too? You just spoke about, the music being so important, and that's one of the things that is personally insulting to me. A lot of the inner city schools, they've removed the music programs. And when I was a kid coming up and throughout, even with my son, that was such a pivotal and such an important part of, because it is a way of voicing what you feel and that. And so that's insulting. So what I believe in doing is, okay, well, they've taken it out of the schools, but it doesn't mean that we can't volunteer and help. So that, imagine if every parent volunteered one day a year, we wouldn't have to worry about, tutoring or any of that. There's a lot of musicians that are involved. My grandfather was actually the first African-American violinist to play in Orchestra Hall. And my grandmother was Owen Lawson, and in Chicago. And my grandmother was Miles Davis' tutor and music mentor, Evelyn Lawson. That was her married name, but it's just a beautiful, when I think about, she's a concert pianist, and that we need how many young people, I got thrown because there's how many young people that she's taught. It was Evelyn Smith at the time is what I was going to say.
In the estimation of many of the musicologists and historians in this nation, Louis Armstrong is arguably the most important musician ever produced in this country. Louis Armstrong is a great example of a young person who, because of music, was able to save himself.
Yes.
He was in what they call the colored waif's home at 13 years old because he had shot a gun in the streets playing around with his friends. He didn't shoot anybody, but, he was a bad kid, right? But his background was such that he didn't have many opportunities. His mother was, she suffered. His father wasn't present. He takes the music from New Orleans to Chicago. That's where the music grew up and really developed in Chicago. It started in New Orleans and went to Chicago with Louis and Joe King Oliver. And from there it went to New York. Yeah. So
got me a historian too, girl. Yes.
We talk about music, we're talking about life.
Yes.
And when you take that out, you're taking away somebody's life.
You're right.
Part of their life. You don't have music in schools. That's nuts.
Well, that's why it feels like some of it's intentional because what you just said.
But wait a minute, y'all. We got a remedy to that. Speaking of that, music will be back into schools because of a new bill that's just being worked on in the House. Thank you, Black House of Representatives.
Yes.
It is called the American Music Apprenticeship Program.
Okay.
American Music Apprenticeship Program. Anita Dixon, this is for you, girl. She challenged the Department of Labor to having the musician as a apprenticeable code in the Department of Labor. Challenged them, went to D.C., got it. She just got it December the 12th.
So what would that mean to the school
system?
That
means that schools, organizations can get this apprenticeship program and bring in dollars from the Department of Labor to train young musicians. No longer leaving it in the hands of the schools. It can be any organization that wants to tap into those dollars. Joe, that was something I need to talk to you about, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. So I'm instrumental in helping that come to California. So we need to lay the groundwork and figure out where we're going to put that.
Right.
But
and you don't have to wait for it to come to California, Linda, because a woman like yourself who already has a strong foundation with Jazzabrations and us as well, you can get together a group of musicians that and do a pilot program and say, hey, I'm on board. Because you don't have to wait for her is my point. And you can say, here are 10 musicians.
No, because the American Music Apprenticeship Program is her program. And you have to be involved in her program in order to get the licensing. The foundational dollars.
So I'm saying let's take her program out the picture for a second and say a wonderful woman like you or myself or any of us, but speaking of you right now with everything that you're doing, we don't have to wait for one program.
Right.
Ever. Right. But there's young people out there that right now need to know that no matter what, there's 10 people. Or I'm not to knock off with what you're saying about
no. But we need money we need money to do it. So this is where the financial money will come for those mentors to be able to teach them. You got to pay some. You can't. We got to have some money to pay the musicians to teach the kids. That's what I'm talking about. That's where the money. Volunteering is one thing. Apart.
At least a part.
Yes, because you got to.
I agree with what you're saying. If you want to do it.
It's just that that's been such, in my opinion, that's been such a thing that we focus on. If the money isn't there, the money isn't there, we can't. We have it's gotten, in my opinion, only it's gotten so critical now.
Right.
And I'm really excited about what your friend is doing. Shout out to her.
We're gonna all tap into that.
She's huge.
Right.
But when I was when I met Crenshaw and I was over there with Dr. Iris Stevenson and, she's got the music wing and everything there.
My children were in her program.
Oh, my God. I love her. I did my radio and television. I teach kids. I was the first organization in the world to teach kids how to produce their own radio and television shows through my program, Today's Youth Talking. And when I look at, the kids and they're actually telling me, we don't think anybody cares about us. Iris does. She takes them to China, all that, it's Paris. I realized at that moment, which was 4 years ago, and I've had this organization since 1999. My son was 2. We got to step outside of ourselves now.
Right. Yeah. To make it happen for our
I've never made $1 from it. I don't care.
My program.
I spend money on it. I bought everybody prom dresses a couple years ago. I don't care. I'd rather have beans and rice for a month rather than see a young lady go without a dress.
Right. And with that, we'll be right back because we're going to take a quick commercial break. You're watching my Linda Morgan, your host, Jazzabrations and Beyond, with Davi Davenport, our guest, and Torre Brandon Reese. We'll be right back, y'all.
In a sentimental mood, I can see the stars come through my room, while your loving attitude lights up a flame that lights the on the wings of every kiss drifts a melody so soft and sweet. In this sentimental bliss, you make my paradise so complete. Rose petals seem to fall, it's all like a dream to call you mine. Ooh, my heart's a lighter thing since you made this night a thing divine. In a sentimental mood.
Thank you, guys. We are back. I'm your host again, Linda Morgan. Thank you for watching us here on Jazzabrations and Beyond on this Sunday afternoon with my wonderful co-host, Torre. Brandon Reese. And
can somebody get a picture of us up there, Tony? Can one of you get a picture for me up there of us on top?
Yes, and
so I can
we'll
put
get
on
a
my
picture.
Facebook page.
And then, so I wanted to tell you about the principles that we have, the curriculum for our Princess to Queen. I wanted to make sure that you have that.
Did you write that book?
1,
No.
spirituality. I am conscious of a higher power. 2, culture. I come from a rich, independent, and powerful heritage. 3, career. I passionately persevere in achieving my goals. 4, education. I am a seeker of knowledge and wisdom. Excuses is not an option. Number 5, economics. I am in control of my future prosperity. Number 6, politics. I am aware and engaged. Yes. Number 7, health. I strive to achieve holistic health and balance. Number 8, family. Yes. I am responsible for improving my community. And number 9, personal responsibility. I am empowered to control me. Now tell us how all of that loops into the class curriculum that we're going to be having these young ladies in.
So 9 principles are spread over a period of 9 months. Mm-hmm. So each month, the young people are introduced to a new concept or to the next concept.
Correct.
The foundation is spirituality.
Correct.
After the spirituality, you become cultural, right? Your culture dictates your belief system, your understanding of life. Culture is critically important, so we spend a lot of time dealing with culture.
Yes.
Career as opposed to a job. Mm-hmm. Career means that you're working from a perspective of your passion, and so we talk about that. Then we go to education, which is the ability to critically think independently. Economics. They need to understand that, it's not about just money, it's about systems, how systems operate. Politics. Politics control our lives. Mm-hmm. We could either be a victim of politics or engage politically to dictate our own lives.
Sure.
Health. If you're a person who wants to be, a lawyer or whatever you want to be, you have to stay healthy.
Yes.
Yes. And health doesn't just mean the way you eat. If you're eating right but you're not exercising, you're still in danger. So it's about holistic health.
Family.
Then we go to family. And the way it's written in terms of our dictation of it is that the family is not just the people that you were born from in terms of blood, but it's a community. It's a society. It's a world. And so you have to take care of that community.
Yes.
Right? And so at the end of the day, again, personal responsibility is about y'all saying.
We try to take pictures. We take pictures.
Yeah.
I'm like, they over here posing.
That's my girl. She knows
I should
exactly.
be posing too.
I was like, why did he
I'd be like,
pose?
hey.
Well, this has been fun.
Let me ask you
Yeah, I
one
think
question
that's
before you.
about
One
it.
question.
That's about it.
You're going to include mental health, right?
Oh, but that's
mental health, because it's a big.
yeah.
There's more
I'm an
suicide
MSW.
going on right now.
Yeah.
Teen suicide is on an all-time high right now.
Yeah.
We have young people that are 5, 6, 7 years old that are committing. Come on now, they're supposed to be just enjoying their lives, and they're taking their lives. 5, 6, 7 years old, 12, 13 years old. That's not what we want.
No,
So-
we deal with
mental
that,
health is everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an MSW by trade, so
Yes,
we
he
deal
is.
with-
And
we
I
deal
sit on the
with
couch.
MSW?
Master of Social Work.
Okay.
And I sit on the couch every other week
On his couch?
with my psychologist.
Well, we know.
Online.
Thank God.
I'm a
Yes.
therapist.
It wouldn't
So
be a
this
show.
has been fun, y'all. We really appreciate you sharing this out on social media. Please tell a friend, share it out.
Yes.
Thank you. Tag us, Linda, Jazz Legend Morgan, and Dobby Davenport, and Brannon Torre Reese on
Yes.
social media.
Right on.
We love you. We'll be back on the third Sunday of the month. First and third Sundays, we're here every month. Thank you so much, and have a great Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Hi, guys. Bye.